All right. So we're gonna get going. And as more people kind of roll in, we will just keep it going. I'm gonna keep doing this every week, every month, to just continue to build community. I realize that what I'm doing now is so different than what I have been doing for the better part of 12, 11 years, Most people have known me as, the top guy, one of the top guys in dating and relationships. And what I'm doing today is a lot different. Spending, oh, hey, Doug, what's up, man? Spending a lot of time focusing on happiness and performance and fulfillment. And I just realized that I'm not alone in this pursuit of this idea of happiness, like what actually makes us happy. And I also realized I had a really important conversation with my wife earlier this week. And this was not, I had to say this to her, not to kind of prop myself up or to give myself this inflated ego, but to really speak the truth of what is happening in the world and where I'm at. Like, the idea of me going after this idea that I can create success and happiness and fulfillment in all areas of my life is something that most people will not do in their lives. And it's not necessarily because they don't want to. I feel like me, so many people have been programmed to really focus on one key area. Be the best in one key area, or just focus all your time, typically in your career or something that you're really good at, and maximize that, and oftentimes that doesn't come with like, hey, but just understand that you'll be sacrificing a lot of things. Sometimes your personal health, sometimes your relationships, maybe your marriage, maybe your relationships with your kids, maybe your mental well-being, maybe your social life. We don't really hear we hear the word sacrifice, and we hear about it as if it's mandatory in order for you to be great and excellent. And as someone who's gone through this path of trying to be really great at something and actually, fulfilling that prophecy, that personal prophecy of being acknowledged as one of the best, having the results to show for it, I did not feel excellent about anything else in my life. And it really made me realize that those were the things I really cared about the most. So this idea of me wanting to be an incredible dad, an incredible husband, and an amazing business person, someone who is an excellent coach, who's able to build a massive business, to be in great shape, to be able to have a social life, to have really close circle of friends, to be able to have time for myself, to enjoy the things I love to do, like going to the movies or playing video games. The idea of doing all of these things and being great at it is not something that most people are willing to do. And to kind of disrupt their traditional programming of focusing on one key area and hoping that the rest of it will fall in line is something that I'm pursuing. That it's not easy. It's a simple decision, but it's not easy. I know that for a lot of my clients, their wives would love for them to be more present dads and be present husbands. And it's something that I found out that a lot of my clients want as well. They want to be able to do that. And they also realize that it's hard. It actually is hard, And so what I'm really creating and focusing on is for people who want to have it all and to feel like they're capable of having it all. If you feel like you can't, then I'm probably not going to be your person to help you find that. I am of the belief that it's possible to have it all. And I've experienced what it's like to have it all. It may be in small moments throughout the day. but I've been able to experience it. And so I'm on this quest of being able to create and have those moments last for longer periods of time. So eventually it can potentially last all the time. And because I felt it, I know that it's possible. And so when I talk about happiness and fulfillment and the idea of playfulness, what I have uncovered is that playfulness is not a word that you hear about a lot, particularly in adulthood. We hear playfulness when it comes to kids and children. We ourselves as kids experienced a lot of playfulness, but it's something that we have had. It's been programmed for us to lie dormant. We've had to take life so seriously. We've had serious responsibilities and obligations, and that's true. I'm not diminishing those things. But what we have realized, what I've realized, I won't put it on you guys. It's really just in my experience, what I've come across in my research, writing my book, and working with clients now in this way, is playfulness activates things within us, within our bodies, within our minds, and I believe also in spirit, that we can't really access in any other state, or at least access consistently. And I realized that if we're able to get ourselves or try to create a life that revolves or at least inspires more playfulness, we're naturally going to have fun. And when we have fun, we're more willing to do things in life. We're more willing to take chances. We're more willing to try things again. We have more curiosity, openness, willingness, sense of connection, purpose. I mean, the list goes on. And I can even go on the internal workings of, how playfulness can boost your immune system. It actually stimulates more calmness. Playfulness actually can increase the gray matter in your brain, better decision-making, better leadership, better cognitive performance. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I've done enough research to know that these are the things that can result in playfulness. I've experienced it myself, and so have my clients. And so what I want to do is, even though you're the only one here right now, Doug, and people will pop in and out, I want to slowly build a community, and I'm committed to doing this for as long as I possibly can. I mean, I really believe this is going to be my life's work. And so if this means that every month you and I sit down and it's just us and we do this until the next person comes in, then so be it. But I really want to build a community where we can talk about what is preventing us from really experiencing the most out of ourselves and the most out of life. I really have this belief that we have been led to believe that certain things, if we were to acquire them outside of ourselves, are going to make us happy. And that statement is true, but not accurate. And I want to start breaking and picking apart these things with you guys. So hopefully you guys can see that the path to happiness is not necessarily the way that we were raised to believe or are continually told to believe. And that there's a different way that we can take that can allow us to experience not just happiness. It's not really all about happiness. What I'm really talking about is being able to enjoy all there is to experience in life, which I believe is what our purpose is in life. We exist to enjoy our existence, and if we can have an impact while we're enjoying our existence, then all the better, and so how do we get to really enjoy our existence if we're in the pursuit of things that we believe, if we were to have them, will make us happy? And while studies have shown that that is not the case, how can we still allow our ambition for us to go after things and still enjoy the process of it all? So it's still going to be organic in terms of how I go about this. I'm going to bring concepts and ideas, both mine and also from research that I've done, and answer questions and provide support in various aspects of life. The cool thing about playfulness and happiness is that it can be applied to any area of your life, not just in relationships or dating, but also in your physical wellness and your mental wellness, in the ability for you to have more fun, how you showcase love. If you are in a relationship, how do you incorporate playfulness in your relationship? If you're not in a relationship, how do you incorporate relationships in the pursuit of one? How do you incorporate playfulness with people that you don't know? Expanding your empathy. How do you incorporate playfulness in your performance at work and your ability to provide and receive value? Provide, share, and receive value. I know I'm throwing a lot right now, and it's just kind of, I want to kind of set the tone and let you guys know that, you know, where we'll go is going to be in a multitude of different directions, but it really does come to a singular purpose of, I want you guys to make life a game. I want you guys to enjoy the process of playing this game of life. And I want you to realize that by playing this game of life, winning, all the things that we want to win out of the experience of playing of life will come as a byproduct of playing the game. You know, and I really want to invite you guys to be open to a conversation about what that can look like. And so before I go into the concept, I know you're just here, Doug, but I want to just kind of open the floor. How are you? How are you doing? Anything comes up for you? Any questions you may have had before coming in here? Any questions you may have now, having heard this? What's up? Up, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry, man.
How are you, buddy?
Good, good. It's been a little while.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Yeah, so I saw these emails about this new, or maybe it's not new, this program that you're doing, and yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing what it's all about. Yeah, I'm trying to create some more fun in my life, and yeah, so I just want to see what it's all about, see what you can rustle up and get me to start doing. So
yeah, and so what I'd love to start out with is ask you, like, what does the idea of fun and playfulness and joy and happiness mean to you right now? And where does it exist in your life? And where do you want it to exist in your life? So it's a kind of a three-part question.
Well, my life may be different than others that may be your clients, but I'm an empty nester now.
Mm-hmm.
I've been dating. I've been in some serious relationships. I just ended one that I was in,
Okay.
and I've been like trying to find, like, what are those things that I want to do that are fun.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a little more golfing, but it's a little more. I mean, like, I played 3 times last week with a couple guys.
Yeah.
Your body isn't as young as it used to be. So,
Yeah.
you're feeling that. I'm still doing my exercising. That's a really fun thing for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like a lot of my social friends and things like that are not the same because I'm a single guy,
Mm-hmm.
and, I've been divorced for a while. I don't have all the social things with my kids. So I'm trying to create some new social circles.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to create, do other things that's fun. I mean, I have the time and I have the resources to do them.
Yeah.
I went to Florida the last 2 winters, tried to buy a couple places, didn't get them. And now I'm like, do I get a place? Do I wait till I find somebody else? Because there's like different places in Florida. Some people like different places in Florida.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a, did I answer your question, or you have some other follow-up?
No, these are great answers, and so I guess the only other question that was like, where do you want fun to be in your life that isn't present?
I don't think I know. I mean,
there you go.
I don't think I know. I mean, I used to, I don't know, for some reason, this is like, I don't know, this is a common thing. I don't hear much about it, but like when you're younger, like the path. You're gonna find somebody, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids, you're gonna participate in sports, you live in a neighborhood, you're doing all these social things in your neighborhood, or your social things with old friends or college friends, or da 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 da. And now I'm in like I just turned 59, and as I told you, a lot of the other stuff. So I'm like, what? Okay, so like, what's going to be fun for me now?
Yeah.
And I used to be very adventurous. I used to like travel, and I mean, right before COVID, I went for 6 weeks to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And and should I do more of that? I mean, I really wanted to go to that place. I don't know if there are other places that I wanted to go to that badly.
Yeah.
I went with a friend for like the first week and a half, and then I went on a tour. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what are those things? I mean, I really enjoyed that trip.
Yeah.
I guess I could do it again, but like I'm trying to figure out those things and then do them. You
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
problem is doing them, or even getting the energy to go and even try new things.
Yeah. So what you said is actually more common than you might think, because the way you said it was so perfect. When the path, the program, they're interchangeable words, right? But when you're early in our ages, we feel like the path is kind of set for us, right? We're raised to get an education, and in that time, that's when the socialization kind of comes together. We now become young professionals. We go into whatever careers that we continue to have our old relationships, maybe form some new ones that might become lifers. And then the next idea of the path is to eventually meet someone, get married, have kids, right? And this is what this programming does also is that it puts us in a state of futurism, kind of future prospecting, where our mind starts to think, okay, like I've been here, now the next step is for me now to have kids. And so I'm going to have kids, and this is what I'm going to envision what having kids is going to be like, we start to use our imaginations, we fill in some details, we remove some details, usually the ones that are most inconvenient for us, right? And we think, okay, like that feels like it's going to make me happy, like let's move forward, not really checking in with us intuitively if that's what we really want. And so we repeat this process over and over and over and over again for so almost pretty much everything, right? If you get invited to a party, and it's like, hey, like me and a bunch of my friends are getting together, we're going to watch the game. Your decision making is based on how you future prospect. You might be thinking, oh, who's going to be there? Oh, there's going to be snacks there. Oh, I bet they're going to have those really good, chicken wings that have like the good dipping sauce. This game's going to be, you know what I mean? Like you start to just imagine that, and then you create this either perfect or this horrific idea of what you think is going to happen at this place, and then that determines your decision, as opposed to saying like, oh, do I want to have an experience watching the game with friends, and letting it be that, right? And so once we get to a certain point, which is essentially what you're talking about, is like you haven't had the space to really think about this for yourself because so many other things were happening in your life. And this is what I'm constantly facing with my clients, no matter what stage they are in their lives, whether they're married and have kids, or they're business people, or if they're empty nesters now, like they now have the space and they don't know what to fill it in with because they never actually kept that space open for them throughout their lives. It's kind of been part of when the program kind of dictates that, oh, that time will come or it'll automatically fit in somewhere, but it doesn't. So this idea of like, I don't know what's really fun is actually a pretty normal thing for most people, but the cool thing is you have ideas and you're exploring them, and even at 59 years old, like what makes playfulness really exciting is that it opens up something that we don't allow ourselves to experience nearly enough in adulthood, which is curiosity. Like as we get older, people say we get more set in our ways, and that part of that is true. But what also gets suppressed is our curiosity. Our curiosity for new experiences or new ideas or perspectives, or at least a willingness to engage in such things. And so at least you have a little bit of curiosity because you're trying different things and you're realizing, okay, like I can't go golfing 4 days a week, like that's my limit, or maybe I can travel a lot, but even that might be physically taxing. Like you're exploring what your limits are. And what I would say to that is like continue to give yourself the space to be curious about what could be fun, what could be different, what could be new and really exciting for you. And what you'll end up finding is that you might find 3 to 4 things that are really, really fun for you that you can do on a regular basis. Maybe one of those things requires quarterly planning. Maybe one of those things may require monthly planning. And then maybe one of those things may happen weekly. But you will find as you continue to explore what those things are that's fun. Now, when I think, when I work with my clients and I talk about the one-up effect and the methodology, there's 4 worlds that we play in. One is the world of purpose, and that world has your physical, mental, and spiritual wellness. And then there's another world of play, which is all about the people, the places, and the experiences that bring you joy. And then the world of passion, which is about loving yourself, in your case, loving the potential pursuit of a partner, and loving the world. Yes, just loving our fellow neighbor. And then in the world of performance, increasing, sharing, and asking for value, whatever value is most important to you at that given time. So our conversation right now is really in the world of play. Who are the people, where are the places, and what are the experiences that are going to bring you joy on a consistent basis? And that's what you're exploring. Most people don't spend any of their time doing this because they don't think that it's worthwhile. I think my editor, she even said herself, she said, one of my biggest fears is thinking, well, let me pull it up word for word because I thought it was super important. Her fear was if life was all about having fun, she'd never do anything truly meaningful or worthwhile. And I thought that was a pretty profound statement. We often diminish the value of fun because it doesn't feel productive, because we're programmed to be productive. My argument is that fun is actually the most productive thing you can do for yourself, and then has the potential to be productive and have impact for others. Like when I'm in a playful state, I'm actually really productive as a dad, because I'm actually able to really be with my daughter and be in a state of playfulness with her that allows her to then expand her horizons and learn more and do all kinds of stuff. That's just an easy, direct example of that. But I believe fun has the potential to create even more productivity for ourselves, but it just requires us to see productivity in a different way.
Is there a list or anything to like help creativity flow? Like,
yeah.
I never thought about that, or whatever. I'm not, like ballroom dancing or whatever. That's like not a thing, but just like a list of things that like stimulate your brain. Like, oh yeah, I can try that, or that reminds you of something else that you might want to try.
Yeah, you could just easily Google like list of things that are fun, right? And many things will come up. But I think a more interesting way to look at it is think of it from the aspect of dating, right? Like there are probably things that you would enjoy doing with a partner that maybe you probably would also enjoy doing yourself. And you can start there as a foundational level, right? Because one of the things that I talk about inside the Lump Effect is like going on dates, on solo dates, which means taking yourself out. Doesn't mean necessarily physically going out of your home, but it's treating yourself to a loving experience. For me, sometimes it's sitting down and allowing myself to play video games uninterrupted. It could be taking myself, I go out to the movies by myself a lot. And that's always a fun time for me. Or I take myself out to the beach. It's things that I would obviously do with my wife or my family, but why not give that to myself too? So you can start there as a great foundation, and then you can also look at like offbeat things. So one thing that I didn't realize that I actually have a lot of fun doing is Legos. Like I didn't have a lot of Legos as a kid for whatever reason, but then when my daughter had these like big blocks, I was like, oh, that could be pretty fun. And then we found some Lego projects that her and I can do together, making buildings and all kinds of fun stuff. But I actually like to do it by myself too. It can be a pricey habit. And so I do it in moderation, but that's a discovery of mine that I didn't know that I had once before. So it could be anything. It doesn't always have to be game-like. You know, I think oftentimes we like, oh, like I'm not into games. I don't like video games or mobile games. And it doesn't have to be, you know, maybe a good crossword puzzle is like fires you up, or maybe a good jigsaw puzzle, you know, or it doesn't, it also could just be like, man, I have a lot of fun just being out in nature. You know, one of my clients loves to go fishing. Whether or not he catches anything is irrelevant, but he just has a great time being out there and, you know, and just being with himself or with a buddy of his and casting out a line, you know? And so, oh yeah, so to answer, the short answer is like, you know, think of the things that you would love to do with a partner, give that to yourself first as a foundation. Because you're still going to, I think one of the things that people forget about this part is they think because they're doing it themselves that it won't be as enjoyable with doing it with someone else. So they save it for when they have it with someone else. And that's once again, one of these kind of future prospecting that isn't accurate. You're going to have a different experience doing it by yourself and doing it with someone else. And so you actually get the benefit of two separate experiences doing something that you will enjoy. I would hate for you to go and wait to do something with someone and realize that you don't enjoy it. Right. And so it's better for you to be able to go ahead and do it yourself. And if you enjoy it, then it's very likely you'll enjoy it with your partner. Or maybe you might say, I'm going to keep this to myself. I like this actually too good to share this with someone else right now. I'm going to continue to do this myself. And that is something that I personally think that's even better, because that's something that you can always go to treat yourself and to connect with yourself. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, on this idea of, you know, future prospecting, you know, I've been doing a lot of research, you know, obviously for my book, and I continue to do research because I'm always having conversations about this. And so, you know, there's a lot of people in the happiness space talk about happiness. Dan Gilbert's one of them. Sean Akers, another one. Elizabeth Gilbert's another one. But Dan Gilbert, you know, a lot of his stuff actually makes a lot of sense. And so one of the things I came across, I think his book's called Stumbling Upon Happiness. And he talks about why we think about the future and why we think things in the future will make us happy. And I kind of insinuated it here, talking about the two experiences, right? Saving the experience that we want for doing it with our partner. And you know, there's three reasons why we kind of future prospect. One, he says, is pleasurable. So it's like by thinking about something we'll enjoy in the future, we get to experience it twice, right? The first time's in our head, and then the second time's in real life. The downside of that is because we fill in and take out what we find to be convenient and inconvenient, our imagination will always over romanticize the reality of the experience. Like we'll still have fun, but it'll never be to the level that our imagination is willing to put it in there. And it works in the adverse. We might think that we're about to experience something pretty horrific and terrible. It's going to be the worst experience ever. But studies have shown that the experience of it is not nearly as tough as our imagination describes it to be, because of that filling in and taking out of information. The second thing is we do it to protect ourselves, right? So we anticipate negative events so we can minimize their impact or eliminate them entirely. I experienced this when I was doing, you know, the professional wingman and the dating coaching, right? It's like when people are fearful of rejection, they will do everything they possibly can to minimize the impact of such a thing, when in reality, it's really all in their head, you know? And then the third thing is to exercise control. Like we just want to have control over what happens to us in life, and thinking about and planning our future a lot like fulfills that need of control. And so the long story of what Dan Gilbert says, and I actually agree with him, and this is something that I personally do on a regular basis, is if we're ever considering what could make us feel happy, or what we think is outside of us is going to make us happy, talk to someone who has had that experience, right? So for example, if you're thinking about moving down to Florida, and a year from now, or sorry, if you start actually thinking about moving down to Florida, like talk to someone who's been to, moved to Florida recently. Ask them how their experience has been, right? Because the human experience is more of an accurate telltale sign of your future than what our brains think, and it's all about just perspective. It's not to try to convince you that, what their experience kind of overriding what you might intuitively know, but it gives you a more realistic perspective of essentially what's going to make you happy, And so
I did that this week. Actually, I talked to a woman that lives in Florida this week.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, she brought up some stuff I never even thought about, like pest control on a monthly basis, things like that.
So. Yeah. Yeah, like, my in-laws bought a condo years ago, and we had went down there, for a little bit, and I remember, and they have like a nice little patio that you can kind of go out. And one morning I walked out and I was like, oh, it's really nice, it's warm, I'm just gonna sit out here and have a tea. And then probably about like 25 feet from me was an alligator, just like walking along, and I like freaked out, and I called one of my friends who like lived in the area, and he's like, welcome to Florida, bro. Like that is that is a part of the experience, something that I never considered, right? But you talk to people and they're like, yeah, it's actually normal, like it's as normal for them to see alligators and crocodiles than it is right now for me to see bunnies and and lizards here, and so when you're able to get that perspective, you get a much more accurate reading of what actually could make, what things are worth pursuing that you think could incrementally make you happier. I don't want to say change the game in terms of happiness. I think ultimately the happiness comes from within and how we show up every day. But yeah, when it comes to finding the happiness comes from just consistent behavior and your way of being, but the moments of happiness are going to come from the things that you're choosing to explore. So I always encourage people to, like, once you find something that's fun and you did it for the first time, do it again as soon as you can to see if it stays there. If that happiness, that joy stays, and then you're on to something. You can make that a part of kind of your regular your regular play, and then you can kind of explore something else while you're also doing that at the same time, and so I don't know how much exploration that you might need to do to find kind of your core group of things and your core group of people. But what I will say is once you find them, the maintenance of them will be just as important as your discovery of them. And no matter how your life evolves, those things will still continue to be important. So you're single right now, you're going to likely be around single people and, maybe empty nesters who have more time, or people who do have, families right now, but who have a better ability to manage their time and can like get out and hang, more flexibility that way. And so that'll always evolve, so it's so fun as a separate kind of that's why it's its own world, because play doesn't matter what stage you are in your life, that'll always be an important component of you experiencing the best of yourself and the best of life. And then in other worlds, depending on what your objectives are, whether it's to be in a relationship or in your career or your personal health, your well-being, that will take you in different directions, but you'll still be able to bring the play with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so, I really just wanted to have like this organic conversation, about it, and so what I've been doing is the book is coming along well. Right now it's in the second round of editing. Once that's done, hopefully we'll get the final okay, and then it goes into the production process. And so hopefully that book will come out later on this year, or it'll be published early next year by Morgan James. And so what I'm doing in the meantime is just creating more experiences and opportunities for people to build their awareness around how impactful playfulness can be. And because, like you said earlier, like most people that I talk to and my clients, that is what they say. I don't know what fun looks like, or I don't know where to find fun, and man, as someone who can relate to that, I think once we are able to rediscover what that playfulness looks like, we ought to never let that go, and I feel like there's an opportunity for us to experience it sooner in life. Studies have actually, there's been studies that have actually shown that based on just history, we are generally unhappy up until around the age of like 47. Like our lives are just set up for us to experience unhappiness up until 47. And then at 47, I guess we decide that we just don't care anymore and we, choose to be happier. But digging deeper into like what that reason is, a lot of it has to do with kind of the instituted programming that we have about the pursuit of the pursuit of happiness, that whole program around that of career and accumulation of external things. But it also revolves around, a time where we're kind of seeking what we want for ourselves, for a level of like security and what we believe is happiness. And then around that time, we change course and we decide to live a life of reciprocity. We choose that we're actually going to be more giving, more kind, and seek more connection to other people than to only be about ourselves. And I find that to be actually pretty consistent with where my clients are in their lives too, And so what I'm discovering more and more, and this is kind of what I talk about in my programs, this is what I talk about in the book, is we got to redefine certain words in our diction, our vocabulary. Words like selfishness, and play. So the way I consider selfishness and play is with capital letters. So when we use lowercase letters in selfishness and play, we see selfishness as all about me. I'm going to take and I'm going to keep, and everything that I'm going to do is for my own personal well-being. I'm not really caring so much about the impact that I'm creating around me. There's just kind of a shutdown of that awareness. And then the play is purely trivial. There's no value. There's no product production there. There's no output for play. So there's no reason to do it. Whereas selfishness with a capital S, and this is just in my definition, in my perspective, is taking care of yourself also involves connecting and caring for other people. But with the caveat that if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be in position to care for other people. Right?
Yep.
And so,
the oxygen mask on the airplane.
What was that?
Like the oxygen mask on the airplane.
Exactly. Yep. My client, in the past hour, he had said the exact same thing. He tends to put it on his kids. He tends to put it on his wife, and then he suffocates. And I'm like, dude, you got to put it on yourself first. Like, there's enough time for you to put it on first and get it on your kids and on your wife. But there is not enough time for you to put it on your kids and your wife, and then you last, And so, and it's like, think about it from a really, really like logical way. If your kids and your wife are starting to suffocate and you're putting the oxygen mask on them, they don't have the awareness yet to think, oh, I need to put the oxygen mask on my husband now or on my dad, because they're gathering their breath. They're getting their breath back and the relief that they're getting of oxygen. That time of that relief is the difference between you living and you dying. That's why it's important for you to put it on yourself first. You don't have a life if you don't exist, right? And so and I think when you're, from my experience with clients who are empty nesters or just generally single, they understand this to a much greater level than when you're in the family dynamic, because they don't have those responsibilities anymore, and so they have the space to focus on themselves. It's just harder to know what to do with that space because they haven't done it in a long time, but they have the direction of where they should be going. And then play, as I indicated before, with the capital P, it has a higher purpose. It really, like I said, it activates so much within ourselves that I personally think that playfulness can actually be a better form of meditation and mindfulness. I mean, a better form of mindfulness than meditation. Because meditation is stillness, which is, and I'm not knocking down meditation. I meditate every day. Stillness is important. Quiet is important. And, what playfulness, but what mindfulness doesn't really offer is curiosity. It doesn't activate that curiosity. I think that is kind of the secret weapon that I think allows us to stay intrinsically motivated to keep pushing ourselves and to keep, going beyond our limits, is that curiosity. And so playfulness institutes that just by the nature of it. It's play. We're doing things because it's fun, not because we're trying to get an outcome. The outcome becomes a byproduct, So yeah, so what I'm doing is just creating more and more experiences, revolving a lot of my programs around that. And I'm still, I think just because, you and I have worked together in the past, like, it's, I'm not like, oh, like we're not doing any dating. Dating is a part of it, whether you are married or you're in a relationship or you're not, like that's a stream of life, and so you still need to be able to create some playfulness and have fun no matter where you are in that stage. And so it's just not the component of life, right? It's just one of 12 streams that you can experience fulfillment from. And so depending on, who you would like to become over the time and what you'd like to experience, then kind of shapes the actions and the courses to take towards becoming that person. So for example, you're like, oh, like what's the list? So I gave you one example. But then there are other things that I could offer within, the methodology that can give you other directions you can go to source, more fun and more ideas and experiences to create for yourself,
So I was reading in your emails that you have like a course coming up in May.
Yeah, Play 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Play 30 is really helping. It's an introductory course to how we can start to kind of take back time to connect with ourselves, how to have fun doing things that's good for ourselves, and then how we can then start to use that to have fun connecting with other people. So inside the Wamp Effect methodology, I have this concept called HP. And in gaming terms, it stands for health points, but in life terms, it's about healthy practices. And it's a daily practice, not a morning ritual, not a nighttime ritual. It's a daily practice that if you were to do these things, you would be, your health bar would be full. And it would be full to the extent of your ability to handle your day that day. So again, I think a great way I can describe why this is important is we all wake up with a certain amount of willpower in a day. Our willpower is very finite, and it depletes throughout the day depending on what happens. And sometimes we may do things for ourselves that can replenish that bar a little bit, but oftentimes I find that people don't. And so let's say you start off with the willpower amount of 20. By the time you go to bed and get home from a day, you're exhausted, you're on the verge of just like passing out. So you probably check out by binging on Netflix, or you drink something or your food or whatever it is. And you go to sleep, your willpower is at 1, not much willpower left. And your sleep probably brings your willpower back up to maybe 10. And maybe you don't do anything to like replenish that willpower again, but you still have a day to experience, and that previous day took out 19 points of your willpower. So if you keep letting this kind of repeat itself, this is what burnout looks like, right? You don't replenish your health bar and your willpower bar enough to keep up with the daily routine. And this is what causes stress, overwhelm. There's no space for fun. You feel like you don't have enough time to do things. You don't take care of yourself, and all the things that responsibilities and roles that you have start to diminish in its effectiveness. So I basically created a way for you to track your health bar based on daily practices that take care of yourself and other people, and it allows you to really maximize life. In my experience and in my clients' experiences, them just doing this daily practice, they're experiencing the fullness that is in life every single day without even really focusing on like what their long-term goals are. This gives them everything they need to feel like they're living life to the fullest. So what I decided to do was, but one of the things I did hear from them was like, at the beginning was, wow, this is a lot to do in a day. And I would argue with them and say that, well, a lot of this stuff you're already doing, you're just not quantifying its impact on you and other people. And then if you were to add these other things, you can then be able to really see the impact on you and other people by doing these things. And so what I decided to do was to break it down into a 30-day experience where you can actually just experience the impact of one of these things each day and compound them over time. So for example, one of the things is connecting with a friend, right? So you take 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes of your time, which is just 1% of your day, to connect with a friend. You can send a message, you can call them, leave a voicemail, send an email, whatever it is, and you can do that. The feeling and studies and my clients' results have shown that like even the gesture of sending a message of appreciation or love or just wanting to connect makes you feel good, and that is fulfilling enough. Like you don't even have to get a response from them to already have experienced the benefits of doing such a thing, particularly if it's someone you haven't talked to in a while that you miss or whatever, And so imagine doing that every day. It could be to the same person, it could be to someone different every day, but then you compound that with, hey, I'm gonna go someplace fun. There's this little hiking path behind me that has a little bit of a creek. I just want to maybe spend 15 minutes there and just kind of bask myself and surround myself in nature. Studies have shown forest bathing. It's a form of forest bathing, but studies have shown that it's great for your immune system. It's great for longevity. People who just have access to greenery live longer. And it's also great for your brain health. Just being able to connect with natural greenery is actually really good for your brain. So then you're calling someone, and then you're in nature, right? Now you're experiencing more of this. But by the way, like these might be things that you now realize these are fun. I actually enjoy doing these things, and you're compounding that with now something else. And so I take each stream of life that I talk about in the methodology, and I incorporate it into one action or a couple that you can do. And I combine it into a 30-day experience. So by the end of the 30 days, you're now able to do all these things in one day and experience just amazing results, as reduce stress, more calm, more energy, more playfulness, more connection, more productivity, more willingness to support, more feeling of support, more spiritual connection, mental well-being. And these are just results that I've heard from my clients, right? I'm not just kind of giving these like fake promises here. Like I'm taking the research I've gotten from science and my clients' results to show that this actually works, I've been doing this for the better part of almost 4 years. And then I'm now, in the past 2 years, I've been instituting this with my clients. And so now I'm feeling very confident in my ability to say, hey, this is what's available now. I can prove that this actually works. So that's what Play 30 is. It's just a 30-day program for people to really immerse themselves in the idea of how compounding these simple actions of fun in a very small period of time can really just change the trajectory of how you show up in your life every day. And it just introduces people to the idea of the 1UP methodology just through simple actions that they can take every day. So yeah, so that's starting May 1st. Yeah, and I'm excited about that too, because I really want the idea of seeing play as, like I said, a higher purposed activity and not just this trivial thing that people do because they want to escape life, because that's not what it is. Play is a means of engagement, but just of a higher purpose. And if we can find that play through things that we do every day, man, the possibilities for people are endless, and I've witnessed them, you know.
So would you recommend this course then for me? Because it sounds like it's a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for you, definitely enroll, because this will also help you create space for finding things to have fun doing. Okay. Right. So you can come in, you can get that, you can ask for, you know, hey, like, what are some things you can do? You can report on what we're doing. We'll have weekly conversations like this inside the group, you know, and yeah. And then obviously, if you come in with some clear intentions of what you're looking to experience, then obviously that can also help you tell you what you should be focusing on when you're doing this. You'll have a tracker. The tracker will help you kind of know what you're doing each day. And then I'm going to give you a video of at least 3 times a week on the activity, the kind of the science and the experience behind why it's so effective, and then how you can incorporate it into your life.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. I'll sign up for that.
And it's a good, and for you, Doug, it's a good intro. It's a good intro for you into the one-up methodology. And so if you decide you want something more higher level and more long-term, then after it, you and I can talk and see if that's good for you too, you know? So it just gives you an idea. So this is a kind of a good taster for you. And I want people to come in and experience this so they can get an idea of like where this is going. And if they want more of this, then we can construct your entire life to be revolved, you know, in this methodology.
Okay, sounds good. I'll do that then.
Yeah,
I think it was like $100 or something like that.
Yeah. I'm making it I'm doing things very differently than I did the first time, because my mission here is really to impact at least 5 million people in the next 10 years with the one-up effect. And so in order for me to do that, I can't just always have these, you know, big high ticket, you know, programs, because while it is effective and it impacts people, it does it on a very small scale. So I want this experience of playfulness, and for people to see that there's a different game they can play in life, it needs to be more accessible. So the book will definitely do that, because that'll be a much lower entry price, but then this will be kind of the introductory process of them working with me and having a deeper education into how to apply this into their lives daily.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need something like this. And so I just, you know, then your email showed up and I'm like, okay, well, I know this guy.
Yeah. And the experience of the book, writing the book, really opened me up to the idea that I know that while I'm very biased and really believe that my methodology is the best, it's not the only one. You know, there are many people out there who have different ideas of happiness, and I love the research that I've been able to find. So I'm not just kind of, I think the great thing about this is what I've been able to create is not something that I just magically came out of thin air. It was really a combination of my experience plus all the research that a lot of people have done themselves, and I'm able to actually, you know, benefit from, to really show that like there's some actual science to this. You know, this is not just a thing that you're going to try and hope that it works. Like there's actual some scientific evidence that proves that these things are effective. And I've just decided to not just write a list of things of what you can do, but make it into an entire methodology that you can plug and play into your life and have it become your way of being.
So how do you implement it in your life today?
Yeah, it's a great question, you know. So for me, and I'll just use HP as an example, you know. So HP started off for me, it was doing like 8 things. This is back in 2019. It was like doing 8 things. It was like waking up early, exercising, meditating, journaling, you know, reading content that I thought was important, and other things like that. And then I'd make my bed. Making my bed was actually the first thing I did in this journey. But story for another time. I'll talk about that at another time. It's actually pretty powerful, but I'll say it for another time. But over time, I realized that, okay, I was doing this stuff in the morning. Like this was part of my morning ritual. And while it prepared me for the morning, you know, it did not maintain itself for the afternoon or for the evening. You know, like it prepared me for going out and dominating at work or whatever it is I was doing. But then when I got home, I had to be into dad mode. I had to be into husband mode. I had to, you know, do those responsibilities. And it's a very different dynamic. I wasn't energetically ready for that. I didn't understand how to shift gears, so to speak. And so I realized that I didn't need a ritual for the morning, because the morning is not all that I'm living for. I need something for the day. And so I decided to do, I decided to spread out what I did. So I'll share with you like so I still do a lot of things in the morning to kind of give myself momentum, but then I'll share with you what else I do throughout the day. So I wake up at least an hour before everyone else does. I used to exercise in the morning, but now what I do is I go on walks now during the day, so I can maximize sunlight as well and being out in nature by exercise. So I'll exercise. So instead of exercising now, I meditate. And then after I meditate, I journal. After I journal, I pray. And I have written prayers that I, you know, through meditation and connecting with my higher power, I typed up, and then I read and I recite out loud. I have a written vision of what I want my life to look like from where I am right now, and I read that to myself. And then I'll play like a quick mobile game, you know, just to get a little bit of that playfulness in, right? And that happens typically in the first hour, 15 minutes. Then, you know, depending on the day, I might be helping my daughter get ready for school. If it's a day for me, then I get ready to go to do work. And then as I'm going to work, I'm listening to, when I mean work, I mean, I'm going to a coffee shop, right? That's what I'm saying. But on my way to a coffee shop, I'm listening to a book. Right now, I'm listening to Power versus Force by David Hawkins. So that's for me to kind of absorb more information, to increase my value, because however I internalize the content that's useful for me, I'm now able to then put it back into anything I create or in conversations like I'm doing right now. And then I go into there, I get into my work. And then when I'm, you know, waiting in line to order an espresso, or if I'm getting a snack, I'll text someone that I'm thinking about. Whoever just pops up in my mind, I'll just send a text and say, hey, bud, just thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day today. That's it. You know, I may hear from them, I may not, that's okay. But just thinking about them makes me feel, and sending out that message gives me a sense of that extra oomph, you know? And then let's say the day goes by, I come home, I spend time with my daughter. We do super daddy time, where it's like 15 minutes of whatever she wants to do, which is typically play. And so that 15 minutes for me with her could be the play for me, yeah, in all intents and purposes, right? And then, you know, if I don't get a chance to exercise and I put her to bed, I will go outside and I'll go for a walk, and I'll make sure I go in a space that I actually enjoy. So it could be closer to this nature path where I typically see like hummingbirds and bunnies to hop around, and lizards and stuff. But it's fun for me to see that, because as a city kid, I just didn't get to see that a lot for so long. So that's kind of my fun place to enjoy experience, you know. And then I'll come home, my wife and I are there, and then we'll connect, and I'll share something that I'm grateful for or appreciate about her, if I hadn't said it already. You know, there's moments during the day where I may send a text to her, or during dinner, our daughter will decide if we can talk about our favorite part of the day or something that we're grateful for. And so if she chooses gratitude, then I express what I'm grateful for her and for my wife, you know. And so these all, and once again, the feelings of gratitude, you know, it just gives me this surge of energy and happiness that allows me then to keep going. So, and the reason why I'm sharing it all in this way is because the results of doing these things can be gratitude, it could be perspective, it could be consciousness, it could be so many things. And what it does is it gives you energy in the moment. but also long-term, it gives you stamina. But another thing that it also can give you is when you're going through, let's say you're having a kind of a rough day. What I've learned in my life, it's not necessarily a rough day that I'm having, it's probably a rough 5 minutes that I'm allowing to drag on for a day, or a rough few hours that I'm allowing to drag on for a day. And the reason why I'm able to see this now is because I've had this momentum of gratitude and this energy surge based on the activities I'm doing each day. Those moments that kind of rock me, or they're kind of letdowns, or I feel bad about them or whatever, they don't last as long because I'm still doing these activities, right? Like, because something, negative may have happened to me, I'm not stopping reaching out to someone and like saying what's up. I'm not coming home and expressing my gratitude for spending time with my daughter, or my wife taking care of me when I was sick, or anything like that. I'm still doing those things. And so when I'm going through adversity, my feelings and my experience of the adversity are less, because I'm still doing these things that are keeping me up. Doesn't mean that the adversity it goes away. It doesn't. But my feelings and my processing of those feelings, the window is a lot shorter. So when I'm getting to a place of gratitude, if I'm in nature and I come back and I face the adversity, I have a lot clearer mind, and I'm able to handle the situation in a lot better way than I would have if I weren't doing these things and I was stewing in the adversity for a longer period of time. That for me was the kind of the discovered hidden benefit of doing these things every day. And then before bed, I'll do a quick, so my morning meditations are guided. And then, before bed, as I'm laying down, I'll do a self-guided meditation. And it's basically just 3 things I'm grateful for. So I'll breathe, do a little bit of breathing, and then I'll say, think to myself, like, what are 3 things I'm grateful for? And then what I've been practicing on top of that now is what caused those things to happen. If it's something that happened to me, what caused those things to happen? Was it love from someone else? Was it generosity? Was it a sign from spirit? What's going to be my reasoning for the cause of those things, and be in the gratitude for that cause taking place for me to experience the thing that it's known, if you look it up, I think it's called like the 3, I forget what it's called. But it's like if you type in gratitude and 3 things, it should come up as part of the practice. It's like 3 things you're grateful for, and the things that cause those things to happen. Kind of deeper level gratitude. And honestly, when I do that, because I use an aura ring to track my sleeping and stuff, my heart rate gets super low, and it increases my recovery and my sleep. Because what I've noticed is, if the later in the night my heart rate is, the less recovery I experience in my sleep. And so when I meditate,
the lower your heart rate, the more you get, you said?
Yeah. So the earlier in the night your heart rate's at its lowest, the more recovery you're going to experience.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then your body's in a rested state that it can actually recover. But if it's, still on the decline, that means your body's not in a recovered state yet. Right. It's getting there.
An hour or 2 before your body gets there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the meditation, what I've discovered, accelerates that calming. Like if I just went to bed, it would take a lot longer for my body to calm. But when I meditate, it almost accelerates it almost to the point where I'm sleeping. Like the moment I fall asleep is when I then get my lowest heart rate, and then it increases recovery. So then I wake up refreshed and ready to go. So it all even connects, right? It all just like kind of infinitely connects to the next day and the next day, just by continuing to do these practices throughout the day.
Very cool.
Yeah. So awesome, man. Well, I know you're the only one here, but anyone who ends up listening to this conversation, I hope you guys got a lot out of it. As Doug talked about, definitely check out thomasedwardsjr.com/play30. You can look more about that 30-day program that we're going to do. Starts May 1st. And you'll get to learn how to apply these daily practices, but we're going to do it in a piecemeal fashion so you can compound each activity over the days. So by the end of the 30 days, you're having fun, but you're also experiencing this new level of life just by doing things that you're just able to do now on a regular basis. And it just gives you a good kind of taste of what it's like to experience the one-up effect. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly, thomas@thomasedwardsjr.com. And next month, we have these at the, every last Thursday of every month. And so I'm going to see if I can actually bring someone to join me so they can share their expertise, their knowledge, their experience around what their life is like. Not necessarily talking about the one-up effect, but just about incorporating more playfulness and having more fun in their lives and how it's been able to impact them. And you can ask questions. And I really want to make this more of a community discussion so you guys can really see just all different perspectives and benefits of what it's like to incorporate such a vital component of what we used to have as kids that we have not allowed ourselves to experience as adults. We get to have that now. And I want to inspire you guys to be able to embrace that more today than ever before. So that being said, thanks so much, Doug, for coming in. Everyone else who popped in and out, thank you for being here. And I'll see you guys next month.